Article 7, Section 2. Calculation of salary cap and minimum team salary. A. Salary cap. For each salary cap year, there shall be a salary cap that is 44.74% of projected BRI less projected benefits divided by the number of teams scheduled to play in the NBA. The salary cap is in effect July 1 to June 30th of that salary cap year. B. Minimum team salary. For each salary cap year, there should be a minimum team salary that's equal to 90% of the salary cap for that particular salary cap year. Now, in the event that a team's team salary for a salary cap year as of the start of the team's last regular season game of that salary cap year is less than the applicable minimum team salary, the NBA shall cause such team to make payments to the players who were on the team's roster during the regular season equal to the shortfall. And that shortfall is to be dispersed to such players pro rata or in accordance with such other formula and roster requirements reasonably determined by the Players Association. The NBPA shall also provide the NBA with its proposed per-player distribution of the shortfall within 30 days after the completion of the audit report. The NBA shall cause the team to make the required payments, less all amounts required to be withheld by the government, within 30 days after the receipt of the proposed distribution from the NBPA. Nothing contained herein shall preclude a team from having a team salary in excess of the minimum team salary, provided that the team salary does not exceed the salary cap plus any additional amounts authorized pursuant to the exceptions. For the purposes of determining whether a team has met its minimum team salary obligation for a salary cap year, a team's team salary shall, 1. Be calculated in the same manner as the team salary is calculated by the accountants, except that with respect to each player that was employed by more than one team under the same player contract, i.e. in cases where a player's contract is acquired by a trade pursuant to the NBA waiver procedure during the cap year. The player contract for this applicable salary cap year should be allocated as follows. The amount to be included in team salary for each such team other than the last team by which the player was employed under the same contract shall equal the salary in respect of the player's contract for the applicable salary cap year multiplied by a fraction. The numerator is the total number of days of the regular season the player was on the roster of such team, and the denominator of which is the total number of days in such regular season. And the amount to be included in the team salary for the last such team by which the player was employed under the same contract shall equal the player's salary in respect of less than the amount of the salary allocated to the other teams. Also, any reduction in a player's salary for the applicable salary cap year resulting from the termination of a player's contract shall be allocated to the last team by which the player was employed. 2. It needs to include any salary excluded from the team's team salary pursuant to Section 4H, which is long-term injuries. 3. Exclude any salary that is included in the team's team salary via international player payments, and that's Section 3E. Not going against anything in this agreement, if the sum of the amount of proposed payment distribution and the player's salary for that salary cap year would exceed the player's max annual salary allowable, then that proposed payment distribution will be reduced to the extent necessary to equal the applicable max annual salary for that player, and the amount of the reduction shall be dispersed to the other players on the team pro rata based upon each such player's payment distribution prior to any increases to that amount. Now, to further extend all of this information, a player's salary shall be calculated in the same manner it's calculated by the accountants for the purposes of computing total salaries and benefits in the audit report. And a player's max annual salary shall be deemed to be the amount calculated, or as applicable, substituting references in such subsections to, quote, salary cap in effect at the time the trade bonus is earned, and, quote, the season prior to the season in which the trade bonus is earned, with, quote, salary cap in effect for the season in which the minimum team salary shortfall is incurred, and, quote, the season prior to the season in which the shortfall is incurred, respectively. The amount paid by teams in respect of the employer's portion of payroll taxes on payments made to players shall be included in benefits in the salary cap year in which such payments are made. C. Expansion team salary caps and minimum team salaries. Expansion teams shall have the same salary cap and minimum team salaries as all other teams except the following. 1. During the first salary cap year in which the team begins play, the salary cap shall be equal to 66 2/3% of the salary cap applicable to all other teams, or the first year expansion team salary cap, and shall have a minimum team salary equal to 90% of the first year expansion team salary cap. 2. During the second salary cap year in which that team begins play, they shall have a salary cap equal to 80% of the salary cap applicable to all other teams, which is the second year expansion team salary cap, and then shall have a minimum team salary equal to 90% of that second year expansion team salary cap. D. Adjustments to salary cap and minimum team salary. In the event that total salaries and benefits for any salary cap year are less than the designated share for such salary cap year, then the salary cap for the subsequent year shall be increased by the amount of the shortfall divided by the number of teams in the NBA during that subsequent year. And that does not include expansion teams in their first 2 salary cap years in the NBA. In the event that there's an overage in any salary cap year, then the salary cap for the subsequent year shall be adjusted as follows. 1. If the amount of the overage in the salary cap year is equal to or less than 6% of total salaries and benefits, then no adjustments need to be made for the subsequent salary cap year. 2. If the amount of the overage equals more than 6% of total salaries and benefits, then the subsequent salary cap year shall be reduced using a 7-step formula that you can find on page 164 and 165. And they also include an example when there's overage of over 6%, among other things in that criteria. Now, in the event that a salary cap for a salary cap year is calculated based upon an interim audit report for the prior salary cap year, and there happens to be a difference in that report than the actual audit report for the prior salary cap year, then any difference is going to be debited or credited to the salary cap for the subsequent salary cap year, except for with respect to the 2023 season and the 2024 salary cap year. Or in the alternative, either the NBA or NBPA exercises the option to terminate the agreement in general. Now, any such differences shall be debited or credited for the then current salary cap year in all such cases with interest. E. Guarantee. In the event that for any salary cap year, total salaries and benefits is less than the designated share, the NBA shall be obligated to pay the difference to all NBA players that were on the NBA roster during the regular season in that cap year. This is called a guarantee shortfall, and the guarantee shortfall is obligated to be paid by the NBA to the teams no later than 60 days following the completion of the audit report. The NBPA, or the Players Association, will determine the proportional basis by which it's paid, and also the proposed per player distribution amounts within 30 days of the completion of the audit report. Section 3, Determination of Salary. For the purposes of determining a player's salary with respect to a cap year, the following rules apply. 1. Deferred compensation. A general rule is that all player contracts shall specify the seasons in which any deferred compensation is earned, and that deferred compensation shall be included in a player's salary for that cap year, encompassing the season in which it's earned. The over 38 rule. The following provisions shall apply to any player contract that is signed and covers 4 or more seasons, including 1 or more seasons commencing after the player will reach or has reached age 38 or over 38 contract. Now, the aggregate salaries in an over 38 contract commencing with the 4th cap year or the 1st cap year that covers the season that follows the player's 38th birthday, whichever is later, shall be attributed to the salary cap years pro rata on the basis of salaries for the prior salary cap years. If a qualifying veteran free agent who is age 35 or 36 enters into an over 38 contract with his prior team covering 5 seasons, the salary in that contract for the 5th cap year shall be attributed to the prior salary cap years pro rata on the basis of the salaries for the prior salary cap years. Now, for each cap year of an over 38 contract, beginning with the 2nd cap year prior to the first 0 year, if the player's contract has not been terminated as of July 1 of that cap year, then the salary of the player in that year and the subsequent 2 or fewer cap years covered by the contract, including the 0 year, shall on July 1 be aggregated and attributed in equal shares to each of the 3 or fewer cap years. There should be no reallocation of salaries for any contract between a qualifying veteran free agent and his prior team covering 4 or fewer seasons entered into by a player at age 35 or 36. A qualifying veteran free agent who enters into an over 38 contract with his prior team prior to October 1 of the salary cap year is age 34 at the time he enters into the contract and will turn 35 on or before October 1 shall be deemed to be 35 at the time he enters that over 38 contract. Seasons shall be deemed to commence on October 1 and conclude on the last day of the salary cap year for the over 38 contract. The 0 year means, with respect to the over 38 contract, any salary cap year in which the salary called for under the contract has been attributed to prior salary cap years of the contract. First 0 year means, with respect to the over 38 contract, the earliest salary cap year in which the salary called for under the contract has been attributed, in accordance with the sections above, to the prior salary cap years of the contract. Now, a player whose birthday is on the date during the moratorium period and who signs a contract, extension, or renegotiation on or before the 5th day following the date in which the moratorium period concludes shall be treated as if his age at the time of such signing was his age on the immediately preceding June 30th. And any player whose over 38 contract is signed pursuant to these sections below shall not be considered a qualifying veteran free agent. The second thing used in determining player's salary is signing bonuses. Now, amounts treated as signing bonuses include 1. Any amount provided for in a player contract that is earned upon signing the contract. 2. At the time of the trade of a player contract, any amount that under the terms of the contract is earned in the form of a bonus upon the trade of the contract. And 3. Payments in excess of the excluded international player payment amount. Proration. Any signing bonus contained in a player contract shall be allocated over the number of salary cap years covered by the contract in proportion to the percentage of base compensation that at the time of the allocation is protected for lack of skill. Provided, however, that if the contract has an early termination option or ETO, the foregoing allocation shall be performed only over cap years that precede the effective season of such ETO. And in the event at the time of the allocation, none of the base comp is protected for lack of skill, then the entire amount of the signing bonus shall be allocated to the first cap year of the contract. Extensions. In the event that a team with a team salary at or over the salary cap enters into an extension that has a signing bonus, then the signing bonus shall be paid no sooner than the first day of the first salary cap year covered by the extended term and shall be allocated in equal parts over the number of cap years covered by the extended term in proportion to the percentage of base compensation that is protected for lack of skill. And in the event that none of the base compensation is protected for lack of skill, then the entire amount of the signing bonus shall be allocated to the first salary cap year of the extended term. A team with the team salary below the salary cap may enter into an extension that calls for or contains a signing bonus to be paid at any time during the contract's original or extended term. If that signing bonus is to be paid no sooner than the first day of the cap year covered by such extended term, then the bonus shall be allocated in accordance with the proration rules that were aforementioned. If that bonus is to be paid prior to the first day of the first cap year covered by the extended term, then the following rules apply. 1. The signing bonus shall be allocated over the remaining salary cap years under the original term of the contract and the extended term in proportion to the percentage of base compensation in each such salary cap year that at the time of allocation is protected for lack of skill. And in the event that at the time of allocation none of the base comp provided for during the then current and remaining cap years under the original term of the contract or during the extended term is protected for lack of skill, then the entire amount of the signing bonus shall be allocated to the salary cap year during which the extension is signed. And 2, the extension shall be deemed a renegotiation and shall be subject to the rules governing renegotiations. If a team and a player enter into an extension and provide that the trade bonus provision contained in the original contract would not be applicable to the extended term, then in the case of an earned signing bonus, it should be allocated over the then current and any remaining salary cap years covered by the original term of the extended contract, and not any of the salary cap years covered in the extended term, in proportion to the percentage of base comp in each salary cap year that at the time of allocation is protected for lack of skill. And in the event that at the time of allocation none of the then current or applicable remaining base comp is protected for lack of skill, then the entire amount of the signing bonus shall be allocated to the salary cap year during which the player's extended contract is traded. The third thing that is used when determining player salary is loans to players. If any loan bears no interest or annual interest at an effective rate lower than the, quote, target rate, then the interest shall be inputted on the outstanding balance at a rate equal to the difference between the target rate and the actual rate of interest to be paid by the player, and such inputted interest shall be included in the player's salary. The target rate means the, quote, prime rate plus 1% as of the date the loan is agreed upon, except that the target rate shall be no lower than 7% or greater than 9%. Now, the prime rate means the prime rate reported in the, quote, money rates column or any successor column of the Wall Street Journal. No loan made to a player may exceed the amount of the player's salary for the then current salary cap year that is protected for lack of skill. All loans must be repaid through deductions from the player's remaining current base compensation over the years of the current contract that, at the time the loan is agreed upon, provide for base compensation that is fully protected for lack of skill prior to the effective season of any ETO in equal amounts, or the, quote, annual allocable repayment amounts. If a loan is made at the time when the remaining current base compensation due for the relevant season that is fully protected for lack of skill is less than the annual allocable repayment amount that would be owed on a loan for the full amount of the player's current base compensation that is fully protected for lack of skill for the relevant season, this is the maximum annual allocable repayment amount, then the maximum loan amount for that season shall be reduced by the amount by which the maximum annual allocable repayment amount exceeds the amount of remaining current base compensation that is fully protected for lack of skill. As an example, if a player has $2 million in current base compensation that is fully protected for lack of skill in the first season of a 5-year contract, and a loan is made during that season at a time when the player has already received his current base compensation for that season, the loan may not exceed $1.6 million. And just for further clarity, if you have a 5-year contract and $2 million is spread out over that 5 years covered for lack of skill, then that's $400,000 a year. And he received the loan. If he's going to receive a loan after he's already received 1 year worth of that $2 million, then he's got $1.6 million left, and that's the max amount he can get for a loan. Now, no loan may be paid to a player whose contract provides for base compensation equal to the minimum player salary, and any forgiveness by a team of a loan to a player shall be deemed a renegotiation in the salary cap year of such forgiveness and shall be subject to the rules governing renegotiations. That concludes Article 7, Section 2, pages 159 to 173, covering salary cap, minimum team salary, and determination of salary via deferred compensation, signing bonuses, and loans to players. Happy studying. See you at the top.